Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Opening up the second half of our season with a very special episode that I've prepared for you, a trip debrief of my very recent adventures to Appalachia. Yes, I finally did it, you guys. Didn't think I was going to be able to swing it, and then the opportunity presented itself. Being the impulsive Aries that I am, I bought the tickets and resigned myself to figure it out when I got there. Being the Pisces moon that I am, I immediately doubted my decision and realized I should have probably waited and, felt it out first. It's a regular push-pull in my life, but here I am on the other end of a successful and quite unexpected journey. Previously, I shared a trip that I took to the Squatch Fest over in Longview, Washington, and people really seem to enjoy that. So hope you guys enjoy this one just as much. Not our regular fare, but a nice, easy reintroduction to the rest of our season. We're going to get right to it. Got a lot of details to share. Optimistic as ever. I had a full agenda planned for this thing and 3 days to do it all. Landed at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport around 4 p.m. Found my car rental desk. Now, when I signed up for my rental, I selected what you might call a simple vehicle, not flashy, economical. You know the kind. That's what I wanted. Suits my personality and granny driving style. So I slide on up to the desk. The man plops a binder of car photos, different makes and models, says, "We don't have the particular car right now that you initially signed up for. Pick another." I don't know cars. I don't know what I'm looking at. So I tell him, "Can you pick for me, sir?" My reservation says Chevy Spark or something similar. I just want something comparable and just as cheap as what I originally selected. Okay, Chevy Spark, something similar. With a twinkle in this man's eye, he says, "I got you." Continues the checkout process. "Would you like to purchase our rental car insurance for $40 extra a day?" "No, thank you. I have insurance for this." Type, 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 type. "Are you sure you would not like to purchase our rental car insurance that will cover things your regular insurance will not cover?" "No, thank you. My insurance covers this, and it's very good." Type, 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 type. "How about roadside assistance for $15 a day?" "No, thank you. I will be incredibly careful." Type, 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 type. "Can I interest you in some emergency tire assistance for $10 a day? In case you get a flat, we will definitely charge you $300 per damaged tire upon your return. What do you say?" At this point, I should have been well on the road, scarfing down some late lunch, fast food lunch, yes, because of the time difference. Instead, I am still standing here because this man is determined to upsell me on something, thinking I'm being funny, I say, "You know what? I'll be super duper careful. I am going to leave the safety of my tires in God's hands." He says, "Praise be. Here's your receipt. Your car's on level 2. That was easy. So I mosey my way on over to level 2. Vaguely, I recall the lovely rental guy saying I was going to go into a Kia something. Okay. I find my stall number, look up to find a sparkling 2026 K4. I didn't know that Kia made luxury sports cars. Okay? I later learned these things are actually quite affordable compared to other cars out there these days. But I didn't know that. I was expecting something to just get me from point A to point B. This vehicle looked like it wanted to discuss performance driving and cornering dynamics. Color me impressed. And also now, I'm a little worried I didn't take the rental guy up on his offer for the extra coverage. I drive it around on that floor, level 2, for a minute, getting the feel of it, certain at this point, I am going to break this dang thing, but I got to get on the road, okay? Time's a ticking. Heading to my buddy's place out in Asheville, and that was a couple hours away. Leaving was interesting. Were you guys aware in some places, when you get a rental car, you have to drive it through an AI portal? Scans the entire exterior of the car so that when you bring it back, they know immediately if there is so much as a tiny scratch in the paint. Not intimidating at all. So I went through the portal, got on the road, sweating bullets the whole time, because y'all are aggressively driving somewhere down there. I don't know where you could be going in such a hurry, but dang dudes, watch the paint job, okay? I end up pulling off the highway, maybe like 60 miles out. Baby girl cannot pee on the plane, so baby girl had been holding it since that morning. I pull into this very Appalachian appropriate gas station. I use the facilities. I grab a 6-pack and I'm checking out when I decide to strike up a conversation with the lovely young gentleman running the joint. And we get to talking. He ends up asking me, what am I doing here? And I'm not shy about talking about my show or the paranormal with complete strangers. I get that you're supposed to be, but whatever. I say I have such and such show, and I'm here all the way from the Pacific Northwest to do research on spooky Appalachia stuff. Get my hands dirty. Cryptids, ghosts, UFOs, you name it. He leans in and says, conspiratorially, where you should go. Just the other side of the Virginia border. I'm originally from there. There's something in the coal mines. Suddenly, he gets this look on his face and points at his arm. Shit you guys not. Both of this man's arms completely lit up with goosebumps, just thinking about whatever this is that's out there. I'm intrigued. I ask the man what he was talking about, what he had heard was out there. He wouldn't give me any specifics, just that there was something weird out there. And when it got dark, things got real quiet, like too quiet. My eyeballs are doll's eyes at this point, just round and shiny. And mentally, I add the fella's recommendation to the already overbooked itinerary. Get back on the road. It's starting to grow a little dusky as I'm just hitting the Black Mountain switchbacks. When I tell you guys, looking up at these mountains, ahead, green and lush and looming in the reddening sun, it was magical. And fair warning, I'm probably going to be corny throughout this whole episode because North Carolina is one of the most beautiful places I have ever stepped foot in. It was beyond description, this place. And there I was, staring right at these mountains I've thought so much about since October. Passing signs for places I've only read about, places with real history, paranormal history. Dudes, indescribable. Roll into Asheville about an hour before sundown. Finally meet my friend Gil, whom I've only ever known through a computer screen going on 3 years now. I think it's been 3 years. I knew him a little bit before Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen. So yeah, roundabout there. He's very tall, or I'm very short, as you will see here from the pic. If you're watching this on YouTube, go take a look if you want to see that and other show and tell. I'm going to be sharing a ton of videos and photos that I took throughout my trip before this episode is over. We eat dinner, and then I get to do something that I was banking on doing at some point while on this particular journey. We took our drinks out front, sat our butts down on the front porch, and watched the fireflies light up as the sun went down, while we chatted, told stories, swapped ideas, and whatnot. It's a very romanticized Southern thing in my mind to go out on the front porch and just relax while you shoot the poo. Know what I mean? And I got to do that. Also, fireflies. I have never seen fireflies in real life before. That was a first. There were a lot of firsts on this journey. Even when I was down in Louisiana, lots of cicadas and something called carpenter bees. They're just big ass bees. Never fireflies. So atmospheric. So cool. Um, During our chat, I relayed a bunch of things that I intended to do and see while I was down there. My bud would suggest a few more locations that I could hit, including a place called Flat Rock, not too far south, said it was purportedly a UFO hotspot, and another place called Littleton, which was home to this Cryptozoology Museum. Hadn't heard of that. Both places I had not considered before, of course, but I filed them away. Fast forward to day one, officially. Heading out this day, I intended to hit the following in this order: Flat Rock, Kasser, Nobby territory, gonna go get my Git stick, Littleton, see what this museum was all about, and Curry, North Carolina, see this 911 pale crawler area for myself. Then loop back around to Asheville. That was all gonna fit into one day. Roll into Flat Rock, known as Little Charleston of the Mountains, UFO hotspot. And according to my friend, there's some big flat rock. Great. I don't know what I'm looking for aside from a big rock. I'm Googling, what are some historic things to see in Flat Rock and where can I see this big flat rock? Primary recommendation: St. John in the Wilderness, oldest Episcopalian church in western North Carolina, incredibly unique graveyard with some of the oldest and most prominent residents buried there, nature trails, memorial garden, the works. I head there. The peace that I immediately felt driving into this little compound of forested bliss. I end up running into either a pastor or a groundsman to ask for directions. He was dressed like a pastor, but he was also just parking a little golf cart groundskeeper's vehicle. He tells me I can find the church and everything I'm looking for that way. Points into the woods. Sounds legit enough. I start walking. I'm on a trail, nobody in sight. Hit a road, and luckily, just up ahead, across the way, I see a building. Must be the church. So I head there. I cross onto the church grounds through some more trees, like a curtain of trees. And then I stop dead in my tracks. I am in the graveyard and just staring up at all these levels through the trees of these headstones. All right, so I found the cemetery. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. This is one of the most beautiful cemeteries. And it's just tucked. I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to zoom in on anybody's, respect everybody who is here. But it's just tucked in here into the wilderness. Wow. This is definitely one of the more peaceful cemeteries I've ever been to. Can you hear the birds? Oh my gosh. So, there's another level. I'm gonna take a gander up there, and there's the historic church. There it is. Perfect little gravel paths amongst the graves, beautiful shrubbery, ancient trees everywhere. Everything is green. It's peaceful. The right amount of eerie. And I've been in a lot of cemeteries and graveyards in my life. It's a fascination for me. I would say this was the first graveyard I've ever experienced where you don't necessarily feel a sadness when you see it. You more so feel wonder. It was so well maintained, and you can just tell loved. I start walking up and down these paths, up and down the stairs, just in awe. Now, these grounds do have a reputation for being haunted. I didn't realize it at the time, but some of the things that visitors have reported include apparitions moving among the graves after dusk, unexplainable cold spots, figures, especially reported near the enslaved burial ground area. There were quite a few graves for enslaved and freed people, disembodied footsteps, and then like the general feeling of being watched, which I gotta say, I did feel that, just like eyes are on you as soon as you enter. The church itself was so incredibly well kept and obviously old, still active, and they do hold services there today if you're Episcopalian and ever in the area. Built in 1852. The parish itself was founded in 1836, giving it the oldest parish in western North Carolina title. Flat Rock itself was this place where some of the wealthiest families, a ton from South Carolina, would go to spend their summers just getting away from the heat by vacationing in this oasis of the mountains. It is quite clear there is money, and old money at that, in this town. You can just tell. Prior to rich settlers and vacationers, this was also an incredibly important gathering place for the Cherokee. And if you want to know what happened at that time and to the Cherokee, just go back and listen to my episode titled Roots of Appalachia. Following the church, the next recommendation was Carl Sandburg's home, just up the road from St. John's. It was originally built in 1838, and the whole estate is now preserved as a National Historic Site. There's the mansion, there's trails all over the place, old stables and pens, there's a pond, and then acres upon acres of forest. Not too far from the main house is Connemara Farms, which is still operating as a dairy goat farm. Carl Sandburg's wife, Lillian, was actually a hugely influential force back in the day in the dairy goat industry and helped to bring a more wide public acceptance of goat dairying, which is kind of neat. History is neat. Carl Sandburg would live on this estate for 22 years until his death, producing nearly a third of his literary works during that time. This little leg of my journey was more so to satiate my appetite for history, and there isn't much to report as far as like regular paranormal events that took place out there, but two things that I will mention about that. The place is ripe for ghost stories. The home is nearly 200 years old. Sandburg died in the home. It's got a lot of Civil War era connections with previous owners. Numerous enslaved people lived, died, and were buried on this property. So there's ingredients. Additionally, upon showing one of my videos that I took while there to one of my sisters, she says she's catching strange movement as the camera pans from the woods back to the gravel road. For video watchers, I will put it up on screen now for you to take a look. I do not quite see what she's talking about. I will slow it down and replay it a couple of times for viewers. If anyone out there can see what she's talking about, I'd love to hear from you. She just kept pointing at it, saying, "You don't see that? You don't see that?" I do not. But I will leave it to y'all to tell me if I'm just blind and actually maybe captured something really cool. That would be awesome. Okay, so at this point, I notice the morning has gotten away from me, and I had yet to see this Flat Rock UFO landing pad. Googling was quite unhelpful in the hunt. I kept coming across like different descriptions of what this could be. Other sources said, well, you actually can't see the flat rock because the town is built over it. Then came across a site that described it as a big granite outcropping, and you could actually still see part of it at the Flat Rock Playhouse, which I had already passed a few times in my search for the church and Carl Sandburg's place. So I head back there. There was a lot of ground to cover at the Playhouse. It's just situated on this like big plot of land. But I'm walking around, looking all around me, now certain that basically what I'm looking for must be some cliff face somewhere out there in the distance. I'm walking around for a good 30 minutes, not seeing this cliff or outcropping or mountain. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, because again, Google was very unclear, but I'm sure I'll know it when I see it. Nothing stands out though. My next stop is Kasser, just over an hour away. So, defeated, I start walking back to my car, head down, just thinking, how could I miss experiencing like the main reason I came to Flat Rock? Eyes down. I'm watching where I'm walking because the pavement is kind of bumpy, uneven. Then it occurs to me, you know, that there is some mighty strange pavement, actually. You know when you're too close to a problem that you can't see it clearly? Here's the embarrassing moment when I realized that for 30 minutes I had been walking on the Great Flat Rock for which I had been searching. Okay, so now we are at the Flat Rock Playhouse. And I was reading online that there's no like specific spot you can see this rock, flat rock outcropping. But if you can get to the playhouse and you walk the grounds a little bit, you will see it. And it's just this grouping of granite rocks. So maybe it's the stairs. Is it the stairs? I don't know. And there's the playhouse there behind me. It's like an old barn. That's pretty cool. I'm not hopeful that I'm gonna find this outcropping of rocks, but I will let you know if I do. Okay, I don't know if this is it or not, or if it's a gimmick, but if it is it, I am such a moron because I've been walking on it. Is this the Great Flat Rock? Look, the brick is around it on purpose. Is this it? Or here, let's walk around. I think it goes around the building. Hold on. Okay. Oh my. Oh look. Oh wow. Okay, maybe this is it. It seems. Huh. Okay. Pretty big area for this rock. I thought I was looking up. Maybe this is it. It's pretty freaking cool. I think this is it. Let's get out of here. I'm fairly certain this is it, or a portion of it. If any locals to the area have a correction for that, that you would like to share, please message me. But it's a pretty substantial chunk of flattish rock. So, as far as I know, I found it. Success. The playhouse is built on top of it, you guys. All right. Next stop, Kasser, North Carolina. Nobby territory, baby. Ever since learning the Nobby story, this has remained one of my favorite cases. I went very deep into the story. across a few episodes, but if you search Beast of the Backwoods, the Hairy and the Monstrous, I believe that was the one. I do talk about that. That would be the most recent one you could look for and hear the story. For now, to sum up why I went to Kasser, a resident named Tim Peeler called 911 multiple times one night because there was a giant, dirty, white, six-fingered Bigfoot out in his yard messing with his dogs. He was able to chase it away with his walking stick, yelling at it to get out of here. So, back when this all went down, a local business owner began selling Nobby memorabilia, including things like, shirts, mugs, and then these walking sticks dubbed Get Sticks. They also used to award Get Sticks to winners in a local annual marathon. Not sure if they still do that, and I can't not remember what that was called. But anyway, I went to Kasser specifically to purchase my very own Get Stick. I was going to hang it and display it right there at the top of my bookshelf when I got home. Those of you watching will notice there's no Get Stick up there. Now, this town is quite rural. It's small, super quiet, and unfortunately home to a couple deserted buildings. Still operating businesses include the post office, a Dollar General, and then the Mountain View Grocery and Deli. That was the first place I stopped. I had read this was the place to get Nobby swag. I dragged that entire store. Not a Bigfoot silhouette in sight. Starting to feel a little anxious. I've come a long way for this. I go up to the person running the register to ask if he knew what was up. Come to learn, he did not sell Nobby stuff, and he wasn't familiar with any Nobby Bigfoot. Major bummer, dudes. On my way out of town, I'm passing the Dollar General, and I think, what the hell? Maybe they had Nobby merch or knew where I could get some. I mean, this creature put Kasser on the map. For probably all of the wrong reasons, but it still put it on the map. You would think someone in this town would still be carrying the torch. It was a stretch to begin with, I know that. But of course, the Dollar General definitely did not carry Nobby anything, but both associates that I spoke to were familiar with the story, and just being able to talk with them about it just reignited my soul. They would also inform me that, yes, once upon a time, the owner of the Mountain View Grocery had carried Nobby items, but she had sold the business, and unfortunately, they could not think of anywhere else that I could find what I was looking for. So I'm in Kasser, and bad news bears, guys. The first place that I stopped was the Mountain View Grocery Store, which I was under the impression was who sold Nobby memorabilia, the Get Stick and t-shirts and such. I went in, dragged that whole store. There's nothing there. And then I talked to the cashier, and I don't know if he's a new owner maybe, or what's going on, but he didn't even know what the heck I was talking about. He doesn't know the lore or anything about the story, nothing. So I couldn't even ask him if anybody around here still sells that kind of stuff. I came on this trip to get me a Get Stick, and I'm not leaving Kasser without one. So now I'm at the Dollar General, and I'm gonna talk to the cashiers in here and see if anybody knows where I might be able to pick up some fun stuff, some goodies. So here we go. All right, so the lovely employees in this Dollar General, they were great. And they seemed to get a kick out of my question and all that. But they both were familiar with the Nobby lore. And I talked to the manager on duty, because he's been in the area quite a bit longer. And he said that yes, that is a new owner at the Mountain View Grocery Store. The previous owner sold that kind of stuff. and he could not think of anywhere else that that would carry that stuff. I was going to be walking away from Casser without my get stick. But dang it, I would still get to make a connection in an unexpected way with one of my favorite stories. In a Dollar General, of all places. After leaving the store, I realized I was out of time to try to get to another destination for the day. So I decided, since I was already out there, since I couldn't get my hands on any memorabilia, I'm going to try to find Nobby's namesake, Carpenter's Knob. Once again, quite unsure what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. I just start driving, letting the current take me, so to speak. Sometimes you just gotta wander. It's good for the soul. The surrounding area is so pretty. Lots of farms. Got stuck behind many a farm vehicle. I found this really sweet country graveyard and church just randomly. More abandoned buildings. And I could see something the further I drove. Something out in the distance that made me question, is that the knob? I head in that direction. Found myself winding through this thick forest toward this mountain. If I was going to catch sight of a Bigfoot, this would have been the perfect area for it, just to give you an idea. As I closed in, the road abruptly dead-ended with a chained dirt path that led up towards this hill that I had been chasing, and then a couple of side-by-side homes off to my left, tucked into this clearing within the trees. And I sat there for a second. I did consider, just for a minute, just parking it and hoofing it up this path, but I noticed there were a bunch of people outside of these homes, like just standing there staring at me. It was very odd, a little uncomfortable. Like maybe I shouldn't have been out there. I didn't think I'd driven on someone's property, but I guess that is entirely possible, I suppose. Didn't have much time to decide whether to ask these folks if I was allowed to go up this path, because two of them jumped into a UTV and were headed dead toward me. So I did a little like do-si-do and got the heck out of there. I wasn't about to get got rando nautica-ing it out in the backwoods of Casser. Okay? Minding the potholes on my way out, but of course, babying this dang car constantly on my mind this whole trip. At that point, I hightail it back to Asheville. All right, day 2, intended itinerary for the day. Head east to Littleton, scope out the Cryptozoology Museum, then head south to Curry, Morris Creek Battlefield, 911 Pale Crawler territory. I get out on the road, heading to Littleton. About an hour in, I figured I should probably check Google, make sure they're open all day, double check hours and such. Closes at 5 p.m. Clock reads 12:30. I have 4 hours to go to get there and will only have half an hour to peruse. It's okay, I decided. I'm on an adventure. I'll make it work. I drive straight through, somehow avoiding any major delays. No stops, just Littleton bound. I am exhausted when I finally arrive. And would you look at that? 4:05 p.m. I had made it with time to spare, baby. Coming up on this museum, you truly cannot miss it. There are some very odd statues or like dolls right out front of the door. And then alongside the building is this huge paranormal mural. I took so many videos of this thing. It was so cool. So after admiring the outside for a bit, because I'm time rich at this point, I head on in. There's a fella standing at the cash register, doing something, typing away on something, and thinking I'm just being like silly, just goosing him or whatever. I say something to the effect of, I just drove all the way from Asheville to see you. There was a moment of silence. We stared, and then Well, come on in. Make yourself at home. I was actually just comparing a couple pieces of equipment here. Not sure if you know anything about spirit boxes, but you've heard of Sam and Colby, right? Yeah, this is their spirit box. I don't know if I like it better than the other one. Ask me anything. Take a look around. Here's an EMF reader to carry with you. Place is totally haunted. Used to be a church, then a honky tonk, you know? And that launched me into a very unexpected, unplanned for highlight of the entire trip. The fella's name is Stephen Barcelo. Some of you may already be familiar with him. I had not been, and I am so glad that fate saw fit to let us meet. He's just kind of the coolest dude. Massive investigator of Bigfoot, UFOs, ghostly stuff. He does it all. He has actually captured some of the most incredible video evidence that I have seen in some time. He caught video of a ghost cat, you guys, all of which you can see for yourself if you ever visit his museum, because it's playing on a big TV at the back of the shop on loop. Pull up a seat on one of many church pews. Yes, church pews, and take a gander. And if you can't make it out there, you can't make it that far, I do believe you can see the evidence on his YouTube channel as well. I will be linking all of his stuff in the notes, so look for that. Check him out. In the past, he was an investigative journalist for the Daily Mail. He did a stint as mayor of Littleton. Everybody there knows him, as evidenced by something that happened later during our visit. I'll get to that. He had so many stories to share and was just beyond hospitable. I couldn't have stumbled into a more welcoming establishment. Let's talk about the establishment. I had no expectations really when I arrived, but seeing it for myself exceeded my non-expectations. Haunted items of all sorts, haunted dolls, one of which changes its emotions and face in the reflection of the glass case it is kept in, where all of the spookiest of dolls belong. 8-foot tall Sasquatch right as you walk through the door, oddities and collectibles of all kinds, paranormal investigating equipment, a literal wall with photos of a serial killer and victims. He's currently investigating that case. All of this with this old world in between feel where, yes, you could definitely see it somehow as both a church and a honky tonk, but also a cryptozoology museum is perfectly at home in this space. After establishing that we both are kindred spirits, I asked Stephen if it's all right if I walk around, take photos, take video. Of course, he says. And so I do. Later, he meets up with me and walks me along the collection, pointing out like special items, pointing out his mayoral campaign sign, articles that he's been in, Bigfoot footprints, the works. Somehow, I have now exchanged my EMF reader and in for dowsing rods. Where did I get those? I don't know. It was a whirlwind. So he's walking and talking me through when suddenly he stops and is like, "You want to see where I saw the shadow person? Have we met? Do I ever?" He turns and grabs the edge of this humongous, like 6-foot tall poster near the haunted doll section, slides it aside to reveal a hidden door, swings it open to reveal an entire warehouse filled with the extra items he cannot get out onto the floor. Holiday decorations, signs, dolls, just wonders upon wonders. He says, "I'll give you the nickel tour. That is where I saw it. I got video of it too." Points to a corner of the room. We started a spontaneous little, the museum is still open, by the way, a spontaneous little investigation of our own of how this shadow figure was captured on his video. And it was. I did end up seeing the video immediately after we left the warehouse side. It's weird. And because I saw this space for myself, I can honestly tell you guys, I have no idea as to how this capture was possible by any normal logical means. It is the strangest thing. We were testing lighting sources, how our own shadows played along the wall, different theories. It was fun, whatever. It was so much fun. When we came out, I sat my butt down on one of the pews and I started watching the looping video evidence. That's when I saw what he was talking about with the shadow person. He's giving me the backstory on each clip, where he was investigating, who was with him, what led up to it, and whatnot. Then he's like, it's a little early for closing. It was about 4:40 p.m., but it's hot. You want to sit out front, and would you like a beer? Y'all, it was hotter than anything in this space. The answer was yes. He pulls out these folding chairs, grabs some frosty drinks from a cooler, and we plop down out front of the shop, watching the locals go by and telling stories. At one point, a hearse drove by, slows down. We wave. These are his people. We keep chatting, crack another beer. About 20 minutes later, a truck comes the other way, pulls in front of us. And the funeral director and his granddaughter from the prior hearse going that way hops out. We all go back in the museum. Stephen is giving him a quick tour because I think the thing was it was either him or his granddaughter who had never really stopped in for a peek like that before. I'm in the background taking more videos and pics. We all go back in the nickel tour area, spend some more time trying out different theories as to how the figure could have been logically captured, like what could have caused it. The funeral director and them takes off. We go back out front and just tell stories back and forth for another hour, waving at locals as they go by and watching dusk come on. It was such an awesome Appalachian experience. I don't know how to put it into words as to what this meant to me, to be so welcomed and to be treated to an unexpected hospitality in this way. But I hope I've given y'all an idea. I really could keep going. There's so much to tell, but I will stop there. Please do check out Mr. Barcelo's links that I've shared below. I've already gotten his verbal agreement to come join me on the program, but I will be reaching out to him before too long to solidify those plans. By the time I realized that hours had passed and I really needed to go, it was quite apparent I was going to have to forego my journey down to Curry, and I am disappointed that I was not able to make it. Perhaps another trip is in order. So much to see, so little time. Now, before I left, Mr. Barcelo gifted me one of his EMF detectors. And for people listening, I'm showing it on screen here. It's an old school one. This is awesome because I don't have one of these in my own stockpile, like the regular old style of these. And look, it's got a little switch. I hope this doesn't do anything to the mic, but bing, there you go. So that was a gift from him I got to take with me. I thanked him profusely, promised to stay in touch, and then I'm back on the road. I'm on my way. 5 hours back to Asheville. Did not sound ideal at this time of night, so I ended up just making it 20 miles down the road to Roanoke Rapids and book a room for the night. I ended up at a how do I describe it? It was a bit of a trucker hotel. If that makes sense. Eyes on the back of my head, I promise you guys. The staff was incredible. The room was perfectly fine. But I am quite aware of my surroundings and my own safety at all times. At all times. I know that I'm only saying this because I did receive some words of warning and sentiments to just be super careful from some folks on social prior to my trip. Something that people might not know about me. I earned my road legs quite a long time ago. I used to tour regularly when I was an actor, stayed in all kinds of establishments, met people of all walks. I'm not going to tell you that I'm worldly by any means, because I'm not, but I'm traveled enough, and I like to think it's given me an extra awareness of danger levels when I'm out there in the world, because I spent years testing those waters. I am also a black belt in Taekwondo. I used to practice judo and kickboxing, and I was an amateur boxer for a minute. So, those come in handy too. I am just fine in most situations, is what I'm saying. And, I think it would actually be quite funny to see someone try. They would never see it coming from 5'4" little old me. All right, so I booked the room. Do a quick Google search for dinner, and lucky me, there's a Waffle House sat just across the parking lot. I ordered me some hash browns and a cheeseburger. Got a touch of the food poisoning later that night. I did. I say a touch of it because I have had full on food poisoning before. It's not fun. Do not recommend. My point is, it's a pretty unforgettable state that you find yourself in. But on this night, the state only lasted about an hour before I was able to force myself back to sleep and then sleep through it, I guess, because the next morning I felt pretty okay, thankfully. Next morning, I have one actual day left to do and visit something really memorable. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to Point Pleasant as I had originally anticipated, just too far away. Same for Virginia, the recommendation from the gentleman at the first gas station. So I'm thinking, what is something I can hit, not too far off the beaten path back to Asheville? Well, if I looped around just right, avoiding the toll roads, of course, I could make it to Valle Crucis, St. John's Episcopal Church, Demon Dog Country. Hell yeah. And so I do. The drive up there was mostly uneventful, but I wanted to point one thing out. Uh, as with a lot of states, you find that the eastern side can be starkly different to the western side, or like north versus south, and that was the case on this drive. Coming from Littleton toward Valley Crucis, there is a distinct shift in the environment. And there was this breathtaking moment in the journey where the highway, it starts going into an incline, and the scenery swapped over from flat, sparser trees, regular country and small towns into what I can only describe as the Scottish Highlands. It was stunning. It had begun to rain earlier, and as I ascended up into these starkly green hills and forested mountains, the fog settled in just ahead of me. Oh, the mood, the vibe, you guys. Ooh. If I am recalling correctly, this would have been Highway 421, I believe. All right, fast forward. Made it to Valle Crucis. I'm getting nervous, excited now. Okay, almost there, y'all. And rolling through the densely forested, winding mountain highway, the dark skies overhead, the heavy clouds looming, the rain tapping on my roof. This was definitely setting the stage for an encounter with a demon dog. Waze says, take the next left on Herb Thomas Road. It's got to be right up here. I'm looking for this church, this graveyard right off the highway, because those demon dog car chase stories had to have happened on this highway as fast as they were moving. I take the left and come to an immediate stop, staring ahead at this pothole-riddled, one-lane dirt gravel road. My stomach sinks. I think about bottoming out the car, and if the $1 million bill is going to be worth it to keep trucking it. This can't be right, I think. I double check my map. Yeah, says it's just up this road, just a little ways. It's so close. It's so close. From what I can see, the road winds its way up into these trees. I cannot see what's beyond. Maybe the road is paved just up around the corner. I came this far. I'm not stopping now. So I meticulously begin to carefully wind my way as much as a one-lane gravel road will allow me around the potholes and now, oh cool, rocks jutting up out of the road here and there. I'm creeping along about 5 miles an hour. A minute or so later, the rain lets up. The road kind of sort of smooths out. I take it as a sign and I continue the ascent. There wasn't any turning around at this point anyway. I'm hoping that the church maybe has a parking lot that I'll be able to drive in and loop around when I come back down. The trees suddenly start clearing, and I see gravestones to my right. A wide right curve in the road takes me along the edge of the graveyard. There's the church. And thank you, Lordy, I think I see a driveway entrance just up ahead. I get there. The gate is closed. Once I'm done, I now know I am going to have to continue driving in the same direction, go wherever it takes me, and hope, just hope, that there is a turnout somewhere along the way. I pulled into the teeny tiny slice of gravel right outside the gate, and I got out and was immediately hit with a super eerie feeling, dudes. My mind automatically wanted to play some games. It felt like eyes on me, okay? Everything's so quiet. The rain is dripping. The canopy of tree limbs sway slightly just above me. But the church is closed. There were no homes that I could see in the immediate proximity. Back down the way I came, sure. But here, at this moment, I felt alone and vulnerable. Because what if the stories were true? I could see a spooky, abandoned barn across the road, and then nothing but trees all around me. We are in Dogman country right now. It's a little unnerving out here. We're at St. John's Episcopal Church, aka the Demon Dog of Valle Crucis. I hear movement in the trees. What the hell is going on? I made it. It's beautiful out here. It's a lot more remote than I was expecting. I'll walk around a little bit. Now, I did brave it enough to walk around this area just a little bit, shoot some clips. But when I tell you, I hopped back in that car and then just sat there for a minute, not entirely feeling much safer. It felt like I really shouldn't have been there, you know? Come to find out, I really shouldn't have, for more reasons than a potential demon dog. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, we have an adventure to wrap up. The rain started up again. The light suddenly seemed to shift a couple shades darker. Time to go. My soul left my body when I came around the next bend in the road, and I could see just how rough this road was about to get. I expertly weaved around an exceptionally deep few back-to-back potholes. Somehow I did it, you guys. No dings, no scrapes. Car was as good as when I first picked her up. About a half mile more, the road did offer up an opportunity to finally turn around. I took it. Oh, God. Now I got to go back by St. John's. And am I crazy, or did it seem too dark to be the middle of the afternoon? I mean, I'm in a moving vehicle. It'll be fine. So long as no one else is trying to come this way. Should be smooth sailing back to the highway. And Jesus Christ, there's a big truck coming this way. I pull over as far as I could. He pulled over as far as he could. I'm sweating as his mirror barely glides over my roof, close enough to kiss it. Dudes, get past him. My body floods with relief. Whew! That was close. The car suddenly dips. I hear scraping as I exit the Mel's Hole of potholes. Wasn't paying attention. I can almost feel my bank account instantly drain. I can hear the rental car guy's voice in my mind. Would you like the extra insurance? Roadside assistance? Just $9.99 a day. Surprisingly, I didn't get that upset. The big bad thing I had worked to avoid had happened. I needed to accept my fate. Was what it was. And after all, this had been one hell of an adventure so far. And would you look at that? I visited St. John's Episcopal Church and faced my demon dog fears. Except that I didn't, actually. After everything I had gone through. Come to find out, probably the wrong church, dudes. I wouldn't discover this until I was back home from my trip. You see, I just couldn't stop thinking about everything I knew about the stories. High-speed chasing of vehicles, the graveyard right off Highway 194, the old stone church. None of these details seemed to fit the location I had been to. But I had searched and double-checked prior to getting to Valle Crucis that I was visiting the only St. John's Episcopal Church within like a 20-mile radius of Valle Crucis. I mean, it had to be this one. And when I realized after the fact, the 60 to 80 mile per hour chase could not have taken place on this one-lane gravel road, that the church I saw was made of wood, not stone, and that it was set a pretty good distance away from the highway, you know. At that point, I mean, I just chalked it up to, well, that's folklore for you, I guess. A single grain of truth can get so exaggerated and extrapolated. Yeah, that must be what happened. To my credit, the site I visited is the only St. John's Episcopal Church in or near Valle Crucis. The graveyard is set right off of a road, and the surrounding property does make for conceivable demon dog hunting grounds. But, alas, I do suspect the old stone church that people are referring to in the demon dog stories is actually the Church of the Holy Cross, an Episcopalian church about 4 miles south of where I was. It's old, it's stone, creepy graveyard right along the highway. I may be wrong. I could be. Stories consistently tie this lore to St. John's. But then very specific details do not add up. I do hope that I'm wrong. I'd like to be able to say, yes, I was exactly where I intended to be. Maybe if anyone listening is local to the area or knows someone local to the area, they may be able to clear up the mystery for us. Please do reach out, paranormgirlpod@gmail.com. Was I completely in the wrong place? Has there been severe folkloric drift? Is Valley Crucis just overrun with demon dogs everywhere? And there is no mix up or wrong answer. I can't be sure. What I will say, though, even if I wasn't at the correct location, I'm still glad I wound up where I did. Scraped car, empty bank account, and all. Because it was part of the magic of my great Appalachian adventure. It was a key part of my unique story. And I cannot be disappointed in that. Uh, Once I got back down from St. John's, my journey back to Asheville actually took me through Valley Crucis proper. I took the opportunity to pull off and be a little touristy, visited the historic Mast General Store. They still use it today. One side sells like tons of kind of impulse buy items, trinkets and games and Valet Crucis paraphernalia. The other side, where the original post office operated and still operates today, which is so friggin' cool, carries a bunch of like food items, barrels of taffy and pay by the pound candies, hot sauces, honey, a bunch of dry goods. It was super neat, like taking a step into the past. Thank you. You too. I then went into a completely overpriced gift shop. I'm a little salty about my visit there. The lady running it totally eagle-eyed me the whole time. Anytime I picked something up intending to buy it, she would ask, "Oh, can I hold on to that for you? For safekeeping, you guys, for safekeeping at the register." Uh, it's like, look, I know. I look like I just rolled out of a garbage truck, but and I did. I mean, to her credit, I did. But also calm down. I'm not looking to get arrested over a pocketing a Bigfoot sticker. I don't know. Maybe she struggles with a lot of shoplifting up there. I don't know. But that would conclude my journey to Valley Crucis. On my way back to Asheville, somewhere along the way, still up in the mountains, I ended up pulling into one of the oldest gas stations I've ever been to, including when I was a child. Okay. The pumps belonged in a museum somewhere. They were still functional, but I was not sure how to use them. Also, you couldn't pay at the pump. Yeah, that old. So I go inside to prepay like you do and ask for a tutorial like you would. Wanted to fill the tank, but I had no idea how much that was going to be. So the lady says, just go pump what you need and pay after. My brain fritzed on that. Do you guys even remember the last time you did that? Like, that used to be the norm, as I vaguely recall. But I had this moment where I was like, pump first? Mm hmm. Then pay? Mm hmm. After I've already gotten the gas? What? In her head, she was probably like, girl, if you don't get up out of my store right now. So I did that. It cost $33 to fill a dang near empty tank on this car. Don't be jelly. I'm jelly. I'm jealous of the person I was back when I was over there affording my gas. Got back out on the road, made it back to Asheville safe and sound. Stayed up way too late, drinking beers on the front porch with my bud, laughing about my Stupid adventures. I say stupid, but I mean that with only love. Awesome adventures. Uh, Watching the fireflies flit in and out across the yard. Those porch sits were some of my favorite moments of this whole trip. Now, the next day, I had one last place to visit and a little bit of time to do it. Didn't need to turn in the car at the airport until 3 p.m. This last place wasn't on my original agenda. It was on my sister's, who originally was supposed to join me on this trip, but unfortunately was unable to. This location is the Fred Sims Chapel at Pretty Place. It's this really unique open air chapel set on top of a mountain just across the South Carolina border, and it overlooks the Carolina Mountains. It's gorgeous up there. It was going to be about an hour and a half deviation from my straight shot back to the airport. But again, I had some time and I really wanted to get some photos for the sister. The drive alone was totally worth the deviation. The closer you get, the higher you go. You're just on this perfect, winding mountain road. Beautiful leafy trees line both sides, tons of rhododendron bushes everywhere. It's green, it's fresh, it's quite remote. Like, it's up there. Got stuck behind someone sightseeing, so they were driving slow. But I kind of didn't mind it, it was beautiful. So I took the opportunity to just soak up my last little drop of the Carolina wilderness. So now I'm sightseeing a little bit, just lazily wandering up and further up this mountain, not really paying close attention to things that might come in handy if something should happen, like landmarks or names of the various roads I was turning onto. I was just doing what Waze told me to do. I pass a sign, Fred Sims Chapel. Please visit such and such website for something or other. I missed the rest of it. I was driving. All good. I had to be getting close. The pace of the sightseeing had slowed me down some, but you know what? I'll get there. Spend just a minute taking a bunch of awesome pictures, turn around, and go back the way I'd come, and be well on my way to the airport. Time had gotten a little tight, but I could do it. About 10 minutes later, there's another sign. Said something along the lines of chapel closed, park closed, something like that. That better not be right, I think. And I continue to drive. Finally pulling to a stop at a big metal gate across the road, and a Forest Service guy sitting guard in his truck right beside it. I jump out and head toward the truck. I came all this way. I wasn't going to miss seeing it, even if I had to wait a couple minutes for the visitor hours to open up. I could still make it. I still had a little wiggle room. It was just coming up on noon, and it was only a 2.5 hour drive to Charlotte Douglas. Had this in the bag, guys. So I come up to the guy sitting in his truck and I ask, "Hey, what time do they open?" "Please say 12. Please say 12. I'm thinking, "August," he says. "Well, hell," I say back. "Yeah," he responds. And that was that. Wasn't what I wanted to hear. Bribery briefly crossed my mind as I walked back to the car. I just wanted a peek, just a quick peek. But I thought better of it. Not only am I wholly unprepared to become a felon, but I'm not sure he would have been impressed with the funds I had remaining at the end of my trip. Like, "August, you say? Let me ask you this. Have you met my friend, George Washington?" So, as unfortunate as this was, I did have to turn around and go back the way I'd come, empty-handed. All right, fine. Focus on the next task at hand. Airport bound. Plugged it into Waze. And it had never occurred to me before this moment what Waze does. when you are completely out in the remote wilderness without service. It does not work anymore. Terrific. I don't remember which roads I turned on to get here, and I don't know how to get back. Pulled over, had a moment, pulled myself together, and blindly started feeling my way back down this mountain. At some point, Waze had to come back online, and then it would just redirect me. That was the logic. If I was way off track, then so be it. About 10 minutes later, it did come back online, and I had not gone that far out of my way. So, whew. I did still need to, kick it up a bit to turn the car in on time. 5 minutes to 3. I'm Tokyo drifting it into the parking garage, launching it back through the AI portal and throwing it in park for the dreaded inspection. A girl comes up with her little device, scans a code on a window sticker and says, "Okay, you'll get any notes and final receipt in 24 hours. Have a nice flight." And that was basically it. The end of a wild 3-day journey into just a teensy little corner of Appalachia. A trip like this may not be a big deal for a lot of people, but it was to me. I imagine some folks may only see the things that went wrong, unexpected changes in plans, opportunities missed, but I don't see it that way. I see the things that went so right, despite my not planning for them. I felt like I needed to experience whatever the next thing was in any given moment, and then the rest could wait. It meant a lot to be able to go, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. As for my final notes and receipt from the car rental place, it did arrive in my inbox the following day. Inspection complete, no damages found, and thanks for returning it in such good condition. Oh, I could have kissed my computer screen. All that worry for nothing. I guess that's a good enough happy ending to conclude my trip debrief for you guys. Thank you all. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for this one. We are officially back, and we will be picking up where we left off in our exploration of the various cryptids roaming the expanse of the Appalachian region. We will wrap up that section before rounding out and wrapping up the entire season on things a bit more haunted and things highly strange. I'm not sure how long this season is going to end up lasting. It is going to be a long one, but just to give you guys an idea of what is in store over the next few months, that is where we will ultimately be heading. If you are not already following me anywhere online, now is as good a time as any. It's an easy way to show support and also stay clued in on upcoming guests and new solo episodes that I've released. I do actually have a fabulous guest joining me in just a week and a half, returning to the show, author, rock journalist, and out-and-out expert voice on the Shepton mining disaster and all of the paranormal and high strangeness surrounding the event, Maxim Furyk. Following him, you guys are in for such a treat. Well, if you're interested in things like lucid dreaming, astral projection, and learning how to do it, August guest is a return guest as well. Blast from the distant past, Vince Fields will be joining us once again. Very excited to speak with both of these gentlemen. That is going to wrap us for now. Have a fabulous rest of your week. I will see you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.